Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling, right? When you sit down, you're ready to really get something done, and then, poof, hours just vanish.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's incredibly common.
Yeah, and you've somehow ended up deep in like an Instagram rabbit hole after checking your email for the 10th time.
Hmm.
And suddenly you realize, wait, I've watched 5 different YouTube videos. My brain feels like a browser with way too many tabs open.
Yeah, that foggy feeling. Overloaded.
Exactly. Meanwhile, that important thing you sat down to do, still sitting there, untouched. Anyone else been there? I know I have.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How easily our focus just dissipates in today's world. We start with the best intentions, but our attention is constantly being pulled in countless directions.
Often by the very tech that's supposed to help us.
That's the irony, yeah.
Exactly. And look, in this always-on world, being able to actually focus, it isn't just a nice skill anymore. It feels like a genuine superpower.
It really does. It's becoming a key differentiator.
Think about the people who are truly making a difference, achieving amazing things. They don't necessarily have more hours in the day than the rest of us.
No, they don't.
They've just figured out how to use those hours with, like, laser-like precision. They've mastered the art of attention.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's clear that real productivity, genuine accomplishment, isn't about frantic activity or just being busy. It's about directed attention.
Right. Busyness versus effectiveness.
Precisely. That ability to concentrate deeply is what separates truly impactful work from just spinning your wheels.
So that's our mission for this deep dive today. We're going to explore this whole art of focus. How do we cultivate it? How do we protect it from all the noise?
And how do we actually use it to get more meaningful results?
Exactly. And a great place to start, I think, is with this concept of deep work.
Ah, yes. Deep work, a really powerful idea, mainly popularized by Cal Newport.
Yeah, his definition really cuts through, doesn't it?
It does. He defines it as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
Distraction-free concentration, pushing your cognitive limits. It sounds intense.
It is intense. It's meant to be. It's about more than just, closing your email tab. It's intentionally engaging in demanding mental tasks with absolute focus.
Okay, but here's the exciting part, right? When you actually manage to get into that state, that deep work zone,
right?
The payoff is apparently huge.
It really is. That's where the breakthroughs happen.
You can finally tackle those complex problems you've maybe been putting off.
Or generate genuinely new ideas, better solutions.
Yeah. And accomplish in, say, a focused couple of hours what might normally take days of scattered, interrupted effort.
Precisely. Think of it almost like a cognitive multiplier. When your attention is fully engaged, undivided, your brain just processes information much more effectively, much more deeply.
You're not just putting in the time, you're actually amplifying what your brain can do in that time.
Exactly. And that's where that feeling of real progress, that satisfaction comes from. Not just being busy, but being truly productive.
So, okay, the million-dollar question. How do we actually get there? How do we do this deep work thing? The material we've looked at points to some key strategies.
Practical steps.
The first one is all about time blocking like a boss, which sounds cool.
It does. And it's really about intentionality. You're not just hoping you'll find time to focus.
Think you're making it.
You're actively carving it out, scheduling specific blocks of time on your calendar, just like you'd schedule a meeting.
And the recommendation is usually what, like 60 to 90-minute chunks?
Yeah.
Dedicated specifically to deep work.
That's a common suggestion, yes. Long enough to get into flow, but not so long you burn out.
And within these blocks, there are some non-negotiables, right?
Absolutely crucial. Silence the notifications, all of them.
Close down those tempting browser tabs you don't need.
And this is key. Dedicate that entire block to one single specific task.
No multitasking. Zero.
None. Set a timer and just dive in. Commit to it for that block.
It sounds like a mental workout session, doesn't it? You show up, you push yourself cognitively.
And just like physical exercise, you strengthen that focus muscle over time. The act of scheduling it, dedicating the time, setting the boundary, it signals to your brain that this is different. This requires real engagement.
Okay, that makes sense. Building on that, the second strategy is about ritualizing your focus.
Yeah.
This one I find really interesting.
Ah, the power of routine.
Yeah, it's about creating a consistent, like, pre-focus routine that basically tells your brain, okay, game time, time to get serious now.
It taps into the power of psychological association
Hmm.
by doing the same small sequence of actions every time before you start deep work.
You build these mental cues, these triggers.
Exactly. They signal a shift into that focused state. It's like Pavlov for productivity almost. You're conditioning your mind for concentration.
So give us an example. Maybe you always make the same type of tea or put on a specific instrumental playlist.
Could be. Or maybe you clear your desk in a certain way, open your notebook to a fresh page, take 3 deep breaths.
It might seem a bit quirky, maybe even superstitious to some.
But the point isn't the specific actions themselves, it's the consistency. These small repetitive steps signal to your brain, all right, we're transitioning, we're entering focus mode.
It's a way of priming the pump, mentally speaking.
And the beauty of it is its simplicity. It reduces the mental energy needed just to get started. You don't have to consciously wrestle yourself into focus each time. The ritual kind of guides you there.
Okay, I like that. Now, the third strategy. This one might seem a bit counterintuitive, especially today. It's embrace boredom.
Ah, yes. This is so important, maybe more than ever.
The idea is to actually stop filling every single tiny gap in your day with, well, usually digital stimulation, right? Your phone.
Precisely. We need to rebuild our tolerance for just not being constantly stimulated. Our brains have become so accustomed to that instant hit of new information, that notification buzz.
So we're basically training our attention muscle to be weaker by constantly feeding it easy distractions.
In a way, yes. By intentionally allowing ourselves moments of boredom, just quiet moments without input, we're giving that attention muscle a chance to recover, to reset,
Yeah.
and to strengthen its ability to resist those distractions later.
Okay, so practically speaking, next time you're waiting in line or you have a few minutes between tasks,
Instead of immediately reaching for the phone.
just kivai. Just stand there, breathe. Let your mind wander a little.
Exactly. Just exist for a moment without external input. The source material suggests this actually helps build your tolerance for that stillness, that lack of constant novelty, which is absolutely crucial for sustaining deep focus later on.
Because deep work isn't always exciting moment to moment, is it? It requires pushing through periods that might feel a bit like, well, hard work or boredom.
Right. It's about recalibrating our baseline. If we're constantly jacked up on high levels of stimulation, the quiet focus needed for deep work feels almost unbearable. Embracing boredom helps bring that baseline down. It lets our minds process things, consolidate information.
And yeah, prepare for deeper concentration when we need it. Okay, that's a big one.
It really is a foundational piece.
Now, all this talk about cultivating focus, it inevitably leads us to the digital elephant in the room, doesn't it?
Our phones.
Our phones, exactly. The next part of the source material tackles this head on: digital detox for a sharper mind. And let's be real, for a lot of us, our phones feel less like helpful tools sometimes and more like, well, the source calls it a trap.
And it's a pretty accurate metaphor, unfortunately. The sheer volume of notifications, the easy access to endless scrolling content, it creates an incredibly strong pull on our attention.
It's designed that way, isn't it?
Very much so. And that statistic mentioned the average person interacting with their phone thousands of times a day. That just highlights how constantly our attention is being fragmented. Sliced thin.
Little dopamine hits all day long.
Exactly. Reinforcing that habit of checking. That habit of distraction.
Okay, so the good news is the material suggests you don't have to, like, throw your phone in a river or move to a cabin off-grid to take back some control.
No, thankfully not. It's more about establishing some smart strategic boundaries.
Right. The first one they mention is the phone away rule. Pretty simple, really.
Deceptively simple, perhaps. When you're in a deep work session, don't just silence your phone or put it face down.
Physically move it out of sight, out of easy reach.
Yes, out of sight, out of mind, or at least less on your mind.
Yeah.
Placing it in another room, or even in a designated phone zone away from your workspace, creates a physical barrier. It reduces that reflexive urge to just grab it.
Makes sense. Reduces the friction of not checking it.
Precisely. The second strategy is to schedule screen-free time. And this isn't just about work focus.
This is about carving out chunks of your day, maybe in the evening or on weekends, for intentional disconnection.
Exactly. Even just 30 minutes, where you actively choose to avoid all screens, phone, tablet, computer, TV.
What does that do for us?
It lets your brain rest, recover from the constant visual and cognitive stimulation. It allows for different kinds of processing. Maybe you go for a walk, you journal, you talk to someone face to face, or you just sit and think. It cultivates presence.
Presence. Okay. And the final piece of this digital detox puzzle is to curate, don't consume. I like this one.
It's about becoming more intentional, more active in shaping your digital environment.
So not just passively scrolling whatever the algorithm feeds you?
Right. It means consciously choosing what you allow in. Unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel drained or anxious. Mute notifications from apps that aren't essential. Be selective.
It's shifting from being a passive recipient to an active curator of your own attention inputs.
Exactly. You're designing a digital environment that supports your focus and well-being, rather than one that constantly undermines it. And the source makes a really crucial point here.
Which is?
Often, it's not the phone itself we're addicted to. It's the feeling of escape or distraction it provides from maybe boredom or difficult tasks or uncomfortable feelings.
So the phone is the symptom, not the root cause.
It can be, yes. And true fulfillment, lasting satisfaction, rarely comes from that constant escape. It comes from focused attention on the things that actually matter to us. Creation over consumption.
That really resonates. Okay, so to really hammer home the power of focus, the source material shares some great stories, some examples of people who've really embodied this.
Yeah, these really bring the concepts to life. Let's start with Cal Newport himself, since we mentioned deep work.
Right. What's fascinating about him is how consciously he bucks the trends. He famously avoids most social media.
Doesn't even use a smartphone, last I heard,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty radical today, especially for someone in his field.
Totally. And yet he's a hugely successful author, a respected professor. He has a popular podcast. His life is kind of a living testament to the fact that you can achieve great things by prioritizing deep work, not despite avoiding shallow distractions.
Absolutely. It shows constant connectivity isn't the only path, and maybe not even the best path, to impact and success.
Yeah, there's that quote of his, if you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled or talented you are. And for him, focus is clearly the engine of that production.
It is. Then the source brings up a really different, almost extreme example. The Monks of Mount Hiei in Japan.
Oh, the Kaiugi. That's incredible.
Isn't it? This 1,000-day walking meditation spread over 7 years, walking huge distances, sometimes up to 50 miles a day.
In silence, regardless of the weather, just walking and being present.
It's an extraordinary feat of mental and physical endurance, obviously, but the core of it is this cultivation of profound concentration, unwavering discipline, inner clarity.
It really puts our struggles with checking email into perspective, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It highlights that focus isn't just about getting tasks done. It's fundamentally about cultivating a state of mind, a state of deep presence.
Being truly present, not just busy.
And then, shifting again, we have examples from the creative world, like J.K. Rowling.
Right. Famously writing big chunks of Harry Potter in cafes, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Apparently completely immersed in that wizarding world, blocking out the distractions around her even in the early days of the internet starting to boom.
It underscores that truly impactful creative work, whether it's writing, coding, designing, composing music, whatever, it rarely emerges from rushed, fragmented moments.
Almost never. It demands that sustained, deep attention, allowing ideas to connect and develop without constant interruption. The force kind of gently reminds us that our own best work, whatever that might be, probably follows the same principle.
These stories really do drive it home, don't they? It's not just theory. It's about real people achieving remarkable things by deliberately making focus a priority.
It makes it feel more attainable, somehow.
Yeah. And that leads us perfectly into the it's your turn moment. Because knowing this stuff is great, but doing it is where the magic happens.
Exactly. The theory is the map, but you still have to take the journey.
So our source material offers a really clear, practical call to action. Something you, listening right now, can start putting into practice immediately. It's scheduling your first focus sprint.
I like that term, sprint. It implies intensity, but also a defined duration. It makes it feel manageable.
Yeah.
This is where the theory becomes practice.
Right. Taking that tangible first step. So here are the 5 steps they outline for scheduling your very first 90-minute focus sprint. Ready?
Let's hear them.
Okay. Step 1. Pick your task. What's that one important thing that really deserves your full, undivided attention right now?
Maybe a project you've been procrastinating on.
Could be. Or some important writing, studying for something, planning out a key strategy. Choose something meaningful.
Right. Something that will genuinely benefit from that deep concentration, not just clearing email.
Definitely not. Okay, step 2. Pick your time. Look at your calendar, ideally for tomorrow morning when your energy and focus are often highest, and block out a solid 90-minute slot.
Treat it like an important appointment, because it is. Put it in the calendar.
Make it real. Step 3. Pick your space. Where can you work that's relatively quiet, tidy, and free from likely interruptions?
Your environment matters. Aim for a space that helps you feel focused, not distracted. Clean desk maybe. Close the door.
Whatever works for you to create that concentration zone. Step 4. Prep your tools. Before the sprint starts, gather everything you'll need.
Notes, software, documents, a glass of water.
Exactly. Get it all ready beforehand so you don't have any excuses to break your focus looking for stuff once the timer starts.
Eliminate that friction in advance. Smart.
And finally, step 5. Set your intention. This sounds simple, but apparently it's powerful. Just before you begin, say it out loud. For the next 90 minutes, I am going deep.
It's a conscious commitment, a declaration to yourself. It helps prime your brain and reinforces the boundary you've set.
Okay, so you've ticked the task, time, space, prep the tools, set the intention, and then?
Then you do it. You honor the commitment.
Timer starts. No multitasking. No sneaky email checks. No just quickly looking up this one thing.
Just you and your chosen mission for those 90 minutes, fully immersed.
And when the timer finally goes off...
Take a breath. Step back for a moment, maybe even take a short break. But also, importantly, reflect. How did it feel? What worked? What was challenging?
And acknowledge that you didn't just do work, you actively trained your focus muscle. Celebrate that a little.
Absolutely. That reflection and acknowledgement are key for building the habit. It reinforces the positive action. Each sprint is practice.
Okay, this feels really actionable, a concrete way to start.
It is. It breaks down this big idea of focus into a manageable first step.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, let's just pull back to that bigger picture again. The source material makes a really compelling point near the end.
Which is
that in our world, which just seems to get noisier and more full of distractions every single day, the ability to focus isn't just, helpful or productive. It's becoming genuinely revolutionary.
That's a strong word, but I think it's accurate. It's a significant advantage. The capacity to consciously direct your attention, to cut through the noise. It's becoming increasingly rare.
And therefore, increasingly valuable.
Immensely valuable, both professionally and personally, I'd argue.
And the implication is when you really start to cultivate this art of focus, things start to shift, don't they?
Definitely. You'll likely find you accomplish more, often in less time, and the quality of what you produce goes up.
You experience more clarity, maybe. A greater sense of calm, even, instead of that constant, frantic energy.
Yes, and real momentum. That feeling of actually moving forward on the things that matter.
You start shifting from just passively consuming information to actively creating things.
From following the crowd to potentially leading the way in your own sphere.
The source concludes with this really empowering thought, actually, that the life you truly desire, the results you want to achieve, they aren't necessarily some far-off dream.
They're closer than you think.
Yeah. They're potentially within reach simply by mastering your attention, by taking control of where your focus goes, starting right now.
It really puts the power back in your hands, doesn't it? Your attention is your most valuable currency.
Absolutely. And on that powerful note, maybe we can leave everyone with this final thought, this quote that sums it up nicely. Clarity comes from action. Power comes from focus.
I like that. Simple, direct, and true.